Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about car crashes, giving you some different types of car crashes, giving you some information about those, medical practices, and the fact, really unfortunate fact is that you're probably going to be involved in some sort of traffic crash during the course of your driving career. Probably more so than in any other high-risk activity that could involve death, such as getting struck by lightning on a golf course and those types of things. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Mallory is here, Evan is here, and a few other people. And of course, the way that it works here at Smart Drive Test during the live stream is we will answer all of your questions after we do the presentation. Usually the presentation is 10 or 12 minutes. As I've released some shorts every day, video shorts at 9 a.m. in the morning. Those are answering your questions about driver's tests as well, defensive driving, keeping yourself safe on the roadways, and to be a safer, smarter driver as well, passing a driver's test to become a bus or truck driver and start a career in that field. Unfortunately, the mandatory entry-level training has come into effect, and it's put up barriers for people entering the industry, which is unfortunate because it's expensive. I mean, here in Canada, in some of the provinces that they've brought in the mandatory entry-level training for truck and bus driving, tractor trailer license is now anywhere $15,000 to $20,000, and I just don't know how people are affording that kind of tuition to go to truck driving school. I mean, the return on investment is good, but it's still expensive. And if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from, what class of license you're going for, whether you're going for your learners, whether you're going for your car license, or you're going for a commercial license. Buify is here, Curtis is here. Corey is the moderator. Bricks for Wheels does an excellent job of getting up the videos that I suggest you have a look at for further information about the questions you ask. Kim is here. Carl is tuning in from Ottawa. David, take to stop after the driver slammed on the brakes. David, it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on how fast you're going and those types of things. So we would need to consider all of that. My friend Tim, Drive Smart BC, is tuning in. If you're in the province of British Columbia and want to know anything about traffic safety, case law regarding car crashes, right-of-way, those types of things, check out his website at Drive Smart BC as well. Excellent forum over there where you can discuss topics, traffic-related topics, with other professionals in the industry. So have a look over there at that. Lady Death, hello. David said he got a ticket for reckless driving. I don't know. I would have to see all the details for that to be able to comment on that. Joe said it is raining and snowing in Toronto, so you get a little bit of both. A fine of up to $300 in points on your driving record. All of that sounds about right. David, for a charge of reckless driving, so we're doing all of that. Evan has asked me a question about 5 misunderstood rules in Australia, Volume 1. And just on that note, I will mention this video again. Intersection Fails was the video that I released last week. It was a response to that video on misunderstood road rules. As some of you know or do not know, I took the driving instructor course in Australia, and the things that he talks about in those videos where you can change lanes in a roundabout, change lanes in an intersection, turn into whatever lane your heart desires. You did that on a driver's test, even in New South Wales, where this person is located. You will not pass your driver's test. I guarantee you that you will not pass your driver's test. It's closest lane to closest lane. You do not change lanes in an intersection, and you do not change lanes in a roundabout in any state in Australia to be successful on your driver's test. History buff. I'm in Washington State and wondering if you still have to wear a mask during the driving test. As far as I know, there aren't any mandates to wear masks, but that will be up to the individual DMVs where you're taking your test. So be sure to check that out. And, just bring a mask just in case that the person wants you to wear a mask. Because I would argue that despite the mask regulations being lifted, if you're in a vehicle with somebody and they are requesting that you wear a mask, it's just common courtesy that you wear a mask. If I was in a vehicle with somebody and they wanted to wear a mask, I would just wear a mask out of respect for their request. So if you're going to take a driving test, that's an excellent question. and the driving examiner requests that you wear a mask, I would say that yes, wear a mask just out of common courtesy. Carl, is it wrong to pull an April Fool's on your manager about having a suspended license? I did that prank 2 days ago. I don't know. It depends on your boss, Carl, whether your boss has a sense of humor or not, whether you might get away with that or not. But yeah, I would find that funny if I was your boss, but I don't think some other people might not find that funny. But anyway, so let us know you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for and whether we can help you out, and we'll do what we can to help you out. Kim is here as well. Bismarck, hello, hello, hello. Lots of people here. And if I don't get your question or I miss your question during the live stream, just give me a reminder, point up and say, yeah, you forgot my question or you missed my question, and I'll go back and have a look at it. So without further ado, let's get over to the presentation here. We'll get through the presentation. As I said, the presentation is about 10 to 12 minutes. After the presentation, we'll come back and answer any questions you have about anything related to driving. We will answer your questions. So, car crashes. We're talking about car crashes. Lots of cars get safety ratings, and these safety ratings are readily available online. And if that is a concern for you, whether your vehicle is going to be safe in different types of crashes, then have a look at those safety ratings. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through the 1990s, hauling freight into the United States. In the early 2000s, while I was going to university at Melbourne in Australia, I drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there as well. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997, and I've done driver rehabilitation as well, teaching students to drive with hand controls, to return to driving after suffering a debilitating injury such as a brain injury or loss of a limb or those types of things. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a degree in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. 2015, I started the YouTube channel and the online business, and it's been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. We're going to hit 250,000 subscribers this year. We're running 1,500 hours of watch time per day. Almost 1,500, not quite 1,500, 1,200 visitors a day to the website. So all of this is doing really, really well, and we're helping lots of people to earn their license and be safer, smarter drivers. So thank you for that. New video this week, intersection fails. As I said, it was a response video to Evan's question, so have a look at that as well. Yes, don't change lanes in an intersection. It is one of the hard rules of safer defensive driving, and do not change lanes in an intersection. And when you're turning left and right on multi-lane roads, left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane for the best defensive posturing. And I give reasons in that video why that is. One of the reasons is more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So, spinning our wheels, this is an academic article that I wrote. You can find the link for this down in the description. And it basically is an overview of the 20th century and traffic crashes and how deadly traffic crashes have been. At the beginning of the 1900s, war, famine, and disease were the top killers of people in the world. At the beginning of the 2000s, it was terminal illness, suicide, and traffic crashes. And I argue in that article, Spinning Our Wheels, at the end of that article, that traffic crashes are actually more dangerous in this day and age than they were 50 years ago. Because 50 years ago, you were probably going to be killed in a crash. Today, you're probably going to survive a traffic crash. But unfortunately, there's a lot of maiming and injuring due to traffic crashes. And you have to ask yourself, what is the quality of life after a traffic crash? Now, medical practices, as I will talk about here later on in the presentation here, medical practices and medical science have advanced a lot. I mean, it was 20 years ago we did the first heart transplant, and organ transplants now in this day and age of medical science are more or less par for the course. We don't think about it too much. No one is immune from traffic crashes. Princess Diana died in a traffic crash. James Dean, who was a famous actor in the 1950s, 1960s, I believe. Tim Horton, anybody who's Canadian knows the Tim Hortons coffee shops. Yes, Tim Horton was an NHL player and started the Tim Hortons coffee franchise, which is huge. And then, of course, one of the most recent people that was killed in traffic crashes who was famous was Paul Walker. And there was some irony in his death and the fact that he had starred in the TV franchise or the movie franchise The Fast and the Furious, which was about illegal street racing, and his death. And there's a series, and one of the smart drivers here might be able to tell me, or somebody on the replay, there was a Netflix series where one of his friends talked about his death and how much of an impact that had on them. So most traffic crashes, oddly enough, are contrary to what most people think. Most traffic crashes happen on during clear weather, dry roads. The driver is sober, has not been inebriated. It's a single vehicle collision, so it's a single driver. And fatigue, prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications. These are all responsible for traffic crashes. And biological clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, many people fall asleep. We cannot determine what happened because it's only one person, and usually the person does not survive the crash. And so we don't have any reasons why single vehicle crashes happen in the way that they do and people are killed. We don't have the reasons for those. Different types of traffic crashes: head-ons, T-bone crashes, rear-end crashes, and sideswipe crashes. The first two, T-bone crashes and head-on crashes, are often fatal, especially at highway speeds. And rear-end crashes and sideswipe crashes, well, rear-end crashes usually result in soft tissue damage, neck damage, spinal cord injury, and those types of things. Sideswipe crashes, of all of the different types of crashes, sideswipe crashes are probably result in mostly property damage, very few injuries or fatalities in terms of sideswipe crashes, unless, of course, somebody oversteers and then drives into oncoming traffic or whatnot. But sideswipe crashes are the least fatal of all of the different types of crashes. Rural crashes, we know as traffic safety authorities that twice the number of crashes happen in cities, but twice the number of fatalities happen in rural areas. And a lot of this has to do with the increased speeds when people are driving in the country. The chances of someone being able to find you, I mean, it's a lot better now that we have GPS and phones and those types of things. But emergency services getting to you is going to take some time. In some cases, it's going to take half an hour, 40 minutes for emergency crews to get to you. We do have helicopters now and medevac and those types of things. But, and the other thing is single vehicle crashes. A lot of single vehicle crashes happen in the country. And of course, the person is injured and therefore they cannot call for help. But there's a lot more fatalities in the country. Top 3 reasons for crashes: failing to yield, following too close, and speeding. And on the weekend, I was watching some videos with my friend Tim, and we were watching dash cam footage and some of these road rage incidents. I can see why people end up in traffic crashes. They just do not let it go. They keep chasing the other person around, or the person brake checks them and those types of things, and it's going to result in some form of traffic crash. 50 years ago in the late 1960s, traffic crashes hit an all-time high, and the number of fatalities were completely unacceptable to the driving public. Drinking, driving, dating, and distracted driving are the challenges that new drivers face. And governments will say, oh, we have reduced the number of fatalities and number of injuries amongst new drivers, when the reality is that, in fact, no, they haven't reduced the number of fatalities amongst young drivers. They simply postponed young drivers getting their license. Most drivers 25 years ago were getting their license when they were 16 years old. Now most drivers are getting their license when they're 18 to 25 years old. So they've postponed when people are getting their license. Drink driving laws have changed. Tim can talk about this over at DriveSmart BC, a little bit more detailed than what I can, but they have increased police powers because convictions for drinking and driving have not been successful since the crackdown 50 years ago in the late 1970s. And then I encourage all new drivers to sign the contract for life with your parents or friends or guardians or anybody else that you trust, so that if you're out, if you're drinking, or you're doing marijuana or any other kinds of drugs and you need a ride home, you can call somebody to get home and drive home safely. Vehicle features, safety features, and all of this started with Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed in the 1960s. And these have been very instrumental in reducing the number of traffic fatalities due to traffic crashes, crumple zones in vehicles, safety glass, breakaway steering columns, and the Chevrolet Corvair was one of the vehicles that Ralph Nader took aim at, and the breakaway steering columns, before these broke away, they would be, if there was a front end collision of one of the tires, the steering column would be driven into the cockpit of the vehicle and usually skewered or killed the driver of the vehicle. Safety restraints were introduced in the 1970s, and these have significantly reduced the number of crashes in the fact that we have almost a 95% seatbelt use amongst drivers. And then, of course, airbags as well have been instrumental in saving drivers' lives. And, there was some technological glitches when airbags were first brought out on newer vehicles in the late 1980s and late 1990s, but now these have been, those bugs have been ironed out. The other piece of traffic crashes and saving lives due to traffic crashes has been medical advances and understanding of medicine. Most of this came out of the Vietnam War, and then, of course, advances in medical science in the last 50 years, of course. The things that we can do now are absolutely incredible. The understanding trauma and the golden hour, knowing that you have to get people into surgery within the first 45 minutes or 60 minutes, and then you can save their life. The question becomes, in terms of medical science and advances in saving people's lives due to injuries as a result of car crashes, is what is the quality of life that these people have after they get out of the hospital and they're sent home. So we can talk about all of that. Good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Get back over here. Ellie asks, off topic, but I would love a video about making left turns where there is a break in the meridian, especially if the median isn't a big enough gap to sit in while waiting to turn. Ellie, do you have an intersection that you're thinking about in your mind that maybe you could send me an address? Excuse me. That I could have a look at, and I could give you some better details about that left turn that you're talking about. Carl, due to the price of fuel, would you recommend electric hybrid vehicles? Carl, absolutely not. No way. Zero. I cannot recommend electric cars. I think it's crazy. I absolutely think they're nuts. Fernie, is it safe to drive 80 miles an hour on the freeway? Fernie, yes it is. Okay, and let's talk about that for a second. It is safe to drive 80 miles an hour on the freeway. And the reason I say that is because of the Autobahn in Germany. The Autobahn doesn't have a speed limit. And nobody in the world, no traffic safety authorities, I mean, maybe Tim knows something about this that I don't, but I've never heard anybody, any traffic safety authority or any organization point to the Autobahn and go, speed is killing people on the Autobahn. Because if speed is killing people on the Autobahn, they would have reduced the speed limit there, and they haven't. And the other reason I say that is most newer cars do 80 miles an hour, 130 kilometers an hour very easily. I mean, my 25-year-old buggy doesn't it does 130 kilometers an hour up and down the highway all day long. On the flat, it struggles a little bit in the mountains, but you can drive 80 miles an hour on the highway. My belief in terms of crashes is because people mismanage speed and space when they're on the highway. It doesn't have anything to do with speed. Speed contributes to the severity of the crash, but the crash is not a result of speed. If that was true, then we wouldn't be able to drive on highways at 60 and 70, 80 miles an hour. I mean, even in the States, they have freeways that are 80 miles an hour. So yes, you can. Okay. Tim says no, but they are reducing the areas with no speed limits. Okay, is that, Tim, is that on the Autobahn or is that in other places? Fort, I don't know why you can't. I don't. Okay, why don't I like electric cars? Okay, buying an electric car is like saying you are a vegetarian because you eat cows and cows eat grass. So when you buy an electric car, you're saying, I'm being environmental. And it's not true. We in North America are one of the few countries in the world that generates electricity from hydroelectric dams. Okay? Most countries in the world generate electricity from either the nuclear power, and you have to do something with the rods afterwards, or they burn coal to generate electricity. So you can't say the electricity is environmental. As well, to manufacture a new car, it takes approximately 1,500 barrels of oil. So you're building a new electric car and you're consuming approximately 1,500 barrels of petroleum to build that new car. Not to mention how much fuel and petroleum products are used to transport that car from wherever it is in the world, because my understanding with these cars is they're not built in one place. All of the parts are built all over the world, and then they ship them to a central location and assemble the car there. So how much petroleum is being produced there? The other piece about that is what happens to the batteries in these cars after the car breaks down or the battery becomes non-functional anymore. So there's all kinds of reasons to be anti-electric vehicles. And the other question I have about gasoline engines is, we've had the gasoline engine for almost more than 100 years now. Why do petrol engine cars not get 100 miles to the gallon? This is the question that I'm asking. Why are we not getting 70, 80 miles an hour on average with petrol cars right now? The technology, I believe, exists somewhere. And the other piece with that is, my aunt had a Volkswagen Rabbit in the 1970s when I was a kid, and it had a diesel engine in it, and that Volkswagen Rabbit was getting 45 to 50 miles to the gallon 50 years ago. In North America, we have no diesel engines, no small diesel engines. My car, for example, it's a 1998 Honda CR-V. In Europe, you can buy that same car with a diesel engine in it. And that car with a diesel engine in it will get twice the amount of fuel mileage. So why are these vehicles not available in North America? So they're in a sort of a nutshell. They're in a nutshell is why I am dead against electric vehicles. And the other piece is, the kid's mom had a Tesla, and Tesla's got issues in terms of maintaining their vehicles, no doubt. The power steering pump went on the Tesla. They put it on a diesel truck. They shipped it all the way to Vancouver, which is 5 hours away from here, on a diesel truck. They fixed it in Vancouver. They put it back on a diesel truck, and they shipped it all the way back here. So, that's problematic. The other piece the other problem I have with the final piece that I have a problem with electric vehicles is, we're now building another infrastructure. We already have gas stations everywhere. Now we're building infrastructure. Now we have to look at these charging stations that are popping up all over our cities. And I'm like, why do we have to look at this? We already have fuel stations. I mean, we don't need another infrastructure in place. Small diesels are dirty. Tim, I don't agree with that. I think that we have the technology to make diesel engines less polluting. And I also think that two-stroke gasoline engines are far more polluting than small diesel engines. Two strokes are just absolutely disgustingly dirty. Anything that's used for hedge trimmers or lawnmowers or anything like that is just absolutely gross. Garden State, cars are dirty, period. Gas, diesel, or EV. Trains is the solution, in my opinion. Garden State, that is true. See, the other problem that we have in North America is that we have low density population. Anytime that you have low density population, public transportation is not going to work. Okay, we don't have any bullet trains that I'm aware of in North America. The reason we don't have any bullet trains is because we have low density population, unlike Europe or Japan, which has high density population. When you have high density population, you can have high-speed trains and good public transportation systems that people will use. But I don't know whether that's completely true either, because I've lived in the city of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It has an excellent transit system. I lived in Melbourne, Australia, where I never had a car for the 5 years plus that I lived there, because they had an excellent transportation system. You go down and you wouldn't, the tram ran every 8 minutes on the line that I lived on. And so I never waited longer than 5 minutes for a tram. Why would I have a car when you have that kind of public transportation system? It makes me ask the question is, I try not to believe in conspiracies, but there are some times that I think that there are some conspiracies in terms of the forces at work in terms of auto manufacturers and public transportation and whatnot. So I don't know. That's my opinion anyway. Tyler, wait till we have rolling blackouts because electric vehicles charging because the grid can't handle it since the lines are probably old. Yeah, that's another possibility. Midnight, when electric vehicle battery catches on fire, most of the time firefighters let it go out on its own since it won't take up too much water. Since it takes too much water to get it to put out. There's another piece we could talk about in terms of firefighters. Firefighters don't really fight fires anymore. They simply try to protect property around where the fire is, and they just let it burn because it's too dangerous for them to go into these buildings. They don't. They simply let them burn. VLV, Rick, thanks for your tip. Take away the examiner's right to fail. You just passed my class 5 in BC. You are most welcome, my friend. Congratulations on passing your driver's test. Awesome. What are my thoughts on rotary engines? I can't say I know enough about rotary engines to comment on that, so I'm not going to say anything. If anybody else knows anything about rotary engines, any other smart drivers here now or watching on the replay, make a comment about those. My friend Joe, say you enter a 2-lane roundabout in the inside lane. You're heading straight through. As you get close to your exit, there's someone next to you in the outside lane, so you can't exit. What to do? Joe, usually the person in the outside lane, you can time that as you're moving through the roundabout. So this person is here, you come into the roundabout, and this person is here, and you move up behind them. You can just slow down and let that person go and then go across in behind them. That's all you do in terms of multi-lane roundabouts. But the other thing is like I said, you're going to time it. And the more experience you get with roundabouts, the more you're going to be able to time that. And I know that there are a lot of people in North America because we don't grow up with roundabouts. So they can be intimidating. When I first moved to Australia and I started dealing with roundabouts on a daily basis, it was intimidating. But after 3 or 4 weeks, I became accustomed to roundabouts. And it's a matter of timing. And once you start timing things as you're moving into the roundabout, it becomes easier and easier. And it's like any other driving skill that you're learning when you first learn how to drive. It just gets easier. Oh, there's my friend Goose. Hello from Sudbury. How are you, my friend? Garden State. Yes, either that or you can continue the roundabout until the exit is clear. Yes, you can. And that's the other option as well. Thank you for that. 34, public transportation isn't the greatest when you are disabled either. No, but they have made a lot of improvements to public transportation so that they are wheelchair accessible. You can get on with your mobility device and those types of things. We now have low floor buses, we have ramps and those types of things. So it is much easier in most of the major cities to be able to get on with mobility devices, and if you're in wheelchairs and those types of things. It's not ideal, but it is accessible for people. Joe, here in the suburban Toronto, municipalities are installing more and more roundabouts. It's a slow process, but it's happening, and yes, it is. And Joe, you sent me the email on the roundabouts, and yes, you know, there's just so many benefits to roundabouts, and I know that many people in North America are becoming accustomed to roundabouts, especially when they put in a new one. You're like, oh my God. But that, first of all, there's less points of conflict, therefore they're safer. So that's the first thing. There's less crashes in roundabouts. Second thing is they move more traffic per hour, so more cars through the intersection per hour. And then lastly, they reduce urban noise pollution. So there's less noise because vehicles aren't coming to a complete stop and then starting again. So there's less urban noise pollution, which is very nice for roundabouts. And I absolutely love roundabouts. We have a couple of here in town, 3 actually in town. Really like them. You don't have to, you know, it's not like a 4-way stop where you have to come to pretend you come to a stop and then carry on with your life, right? Mallory, don't miss your exit on the roundabout. Yes. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Cece, what do you do if you know you were right in a car crash, but the cops say you were in the wrong? In the police report, they had no cameras at the spot too. Cece, I can't really speak to that because I wasn't there. And, you know, the police have their way of doing traffic reconstruction. I mean, maybe Tim could weigh in on this and offer a comment. But this comes back to the point that I reiterate again and again and again in terms of crashes. You can be right or you can be dead right. And it comes down to this, is that once you're in a crash and you're trying to determine if the other person is at fault or you're at fault, whoever is at fault, that's going to be up to the police and up to the courts to determine who's at fault. And of course, the insurance companies are involved as well. And personal injury lawyers, they bring people like me in to excuse me. They bring people in like me to give an opinion. And it's a professional opinion based on the facts that I have after the crash. And I can tell you that police reports some of them are adequate at best. You know, and you don't get... Sorry. And a lot of them, you don't get camera. There isn't dash cam footage and those types of things. So you're really, you know, and the other thing about it is the decisions can take a long time. Some of these decisions are 5 to 10 years before you get a decision in a court ruling about who is right or who is wrong with the traffic crash. And as Tim said, it's without details, it's difficult to have a good opinion of who's at fault or who's not at fault. Garden State EVs are not efficient as they make them seem, Nydia. There is that. I definitely don't believe in Tesla trucks, that's for sure. And I don't believe in self-driving cars. And actually, there's a video here, I think it's 5 years old, when his name is escaping me right now, was saying that by 2020 we would all be driving around in self-driving cars. Well, we're not, and we won't be in this century. Okay, it will not happen in this century. Garden State, I definitely suggest getting into autocross, whether you're into motorsports or not. Good skills to learn on the road. Yes, any defensive driving skills that you can, you know, being able to drive better and those types of things, all of that is going to help you out. Tyler, have you heard about the new West partnership where if you move from BC to Saskatchewan, you are exempt from the first-time mechanical safety inspection? It's not surprising. I think the Saskatchewan is probably capitalizing on the exorbitant cost of living in British Columbia right now and the mass exodus from this province to other places where it's not quite so expensive. Kata, your videos have been very helpful, not only for road tests, but also in general. Thanks a lot. You are most welcome, my friend. Eric, tips for new drivers commuting between suburbs and the cities, please. Okay, Eric, are you commuting for work, my friend? Ruben, be careful because those people out there, the road is a racetrack and it's not a racetrack. That is very true. Mallory, Prince Edward Island has all kinds of roundabouts. Yes, that's because potatoes are round and they grow them in Prince Edward Island. I was making a joke, Mallory. All right. Okay, and as I said, it's busy. And so if I don't get to your question, just leave me a note and I'll have a look and see whether I can get to your question or not. Garden State that says that in New Jersey that the public transportation is good there. As well, if you're going for your driver's license, check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time course package over at the Smart Drive Test website. Pass Your Driver's Test First Time, guaranteed to pass your driver's test. As well, as a bonus, we throw in both the winter and defensive driving smart courses. You can pick that up for about $38 US over at the Smart Drive Test website. And as I said, guaranteed to pass your driver's test first time. Eric, yes, for work, generally only once a week, so it's cheaper and faster than a train. Okay, so basically, manage space well around your vehicle, communicate, all of the skills and techniques for defensive driving. So space management, speed management, observation, and communication. And so space management, if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. Have your 3 to 4 second following distance. When you stop in traffic, make sure you stop behind other traffic so you have approximately 1 vehicle length between you and the vehicle in front of you. Observation, make sure you have your forward scanning pattern, checking your instrument panel, checking your mirrors, all the way around your vehicle, and always control that space in front. Always have that 3 to 4 second following distance. Communication, make sure that position of your vehicle, position of other road users on the roadway communicates intent. And then lights and signals. Remember, your signals are to tell other drivers that you wish to move over, not that you are moving over, as most drivers do. They, give you a courtesy flash as they're moving over from one lane to the other or turning their vehicle. And then horns, use it sparingly because in this day and age, horns are seen as a sign of aggression. Eye contact if you're not sure what the other person is doing, and then hand gestures, of course, and make sure you use all 5 fingers. Don't tell another road user that he or she is number 1. And Corey's put up the link for the Pass Your Driver's Test First Time over at the Smart Drive Test website. Curtis, my dad, had me drive the van in the driveway. I wasn't expecting to move by itself. Curtis, did you forget to put on the parking brake? Is that what happened? Tyler, our bus service is horrible. 1 bus per hour. Driving is more convenient. Yes. Tim, have a great night, my friend. All the best. Eric, thank you. How to safely merge onto the highway when your vehicle is generally slower than most others. Eric, put it right on the floor. Put the throttle right on the floor. I have an old 1998 Honda CR-V, and it's got 125 horsepower, and that's what you do, is you just put your foot on the throttle and get it up to speed as best you can. Carl, what would it take to become a bus driving instructor? Carl, where are you in the world? Are you in the States somewhere? Just let me know, and I'll be able to answer that better for you. Joshua, when turning right at a red, does it go 1, scan the crosswalk, 2, shoulder check, look for oncoming traffic? Okay, so Joshua, there's a video here. Corey will put that up for you on turning on a red light. First and most important is to come to a complete stop at the correct stopping position. At most red lights, it's going to be before the stop line. Give way to all of the road users, so all pedestrians and those types of things. And then you inch out, you move out so you can see coming traffic and those types of things, and then when the way is clear, you can proceed. Now, if you're going for a driver's test, I don't know whether you're going for a driver's test or this is just for everyday driving. If it's busy and it's a red light, you can wait for the green light. If it's not busy, then you have to proceed on a red light, unless there are signs prohibiting you turning on a red light. Yeah, people don't signal well at roundabouts, that's for sure. Joshua, do you have a dream car or own your own already? Joshua, I do have a car, but it's not my dream car. Actually, my dream car is a Maserati. That's my dream car. Garden State, just floor it, maybe even redline it. Yes, you definitely need to do that for sure, and you need to get it into that passing gear. Okay, so Carl, you want to become a driving instructor in the city of Ottawa here in Canada. You are going to need 5 years of driving experience to get to be a driving instructor in the province of Ontario. To become a driving instructor and to teach bus driving, you're going to have to do, and I don't know whether this is the same, the people that I would tell you to contact would be the Ontario Safety League. They do most of the training there in the province of Ontario. The first thing you need to do is you need to take the class, the in-car training to become a car instructor, and then you need to do the in-classroom instruction to become a driving instructor. The other piece of this, if you're going to teach bus driving, is you're going to have probably 5 years of bus driving experience to be able to teach bus driving, and you're going to have a fairly clean driving abstract to be able to teach that as well. I know that's a lot of requirements for you to be a driving instructor. I mean, in that amount of time, you probably go and get a university degree in about the same amount of time. Epic, find the Smart Driver short videos extremely helpful in some of the cars these days should provide moderate to good protection from side collisions, T-bone accidents from both left and right sides. That's not true, Epic. Cars do provide a fair bit of protection. The problem with T-bone crashes is that the door is this wide. There's some plastic on the inside, and there's some thin metal sheeting on the outside. There's really nothing in that door that's going to protect vehicle occupants. The other dynamic that's going on in a T-bone crash is that when the car strikes the side of the vehicle, it doesn't strike square on, so the energy is not dissipated across the front of the crashing vehicle. It's on an angle, and all of the energy from this vehicle is concentrated in a very small area. And unfortunately, due to where the passenger or the occupant is sitting in the vehicle, it's usually in your abdomen where all your vital organs are, and all of that energy is dispersed into your body. And the really horrible piece of T-bone crashes is that most vehicle occupants are killed. They do not excuse me, they don't survive those traffic crashes. So know that when you're doing left turns, mostly right turns as well, but if you get T-boned, you probably, whoever is in the passenger side of the vehicle or the driver's side of the vehicle is not going to survive that crash. Chuck, question. My tandems are 28,000 pounds. My drives are 33,000 pounds. Steers are 11.7. How do I fix this? Okay. Your tandems on the trailer. So you need to get your steers down to, oh my God, you're hurting my brain here. 36, 72. 8,000 pounds. Is it 8,000 pounds? That doesn't sound right. 36 is 72, so 8,000 pounds. Yeah, 80,000 pounds. You have to slide the fifth wheel forward on your tractor to get it down to the required weight because you're over on your steers. And you also need to slide... Oh, okay, you're over on your back too. So you need to move the trailer tires forward so that you get more weight on the trailer. Try that first before you slide the fifth wheel. But after you do that and you move the trailer tandems forward to get more weight on the trailer, if that doesn't solve your problem on the tractor, then you're going to have to move the fifth wheel forward on the or backwards on the tractor to get more weight on the back of the truck. That's what you're going to need to do. Okay, and it's usually about 500 pounds per hole on the trailer that's going to move that weight for you and shift it around so you're within compliance for your axle weights. Okay. Tyler, if the Volkswagen thing got hit on the side, you would be dead since it has zero structure. Okay. Joe, sorry to be a broken record about roundabouts, but it seems to me that roundabouts would virtually eliminate T-bone crashes. Is that right? Yes, it would, Joe, because as we said, there's less points of conflict in a roundabout because you got to come in and around. So, yes, you're absolutely right in terms of what you just said about reducing T-bone crashes in a roundabout. It's going to be more of a sideswipe crash, and there's a much higher probability that you're going to survive that type of crash in a roundabout. All right. Thanks for the information. You're most welcome. What you say is the easiest mistake on the Class 7 road test, Joshua? Joshua, I would say that the most common mistake on a Class 7 driver's test is not shoulder checking. Okay? Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. You must shoulder check on a driver's test or you will not be successful. So know that and practice that and be sure you got it down. Gicky, the police will take into account, could you by your actions have prevented the crash? If the answer is yes, you could have. You share the blame and will get a ticket. And Gicky, that's not just for New Zealand. I think that's pretty much across the board that you share some of the responsibility if you could have, done something to prevent the collision. And here's the other thing about this as well, and I want everyone to keep this in mind. All the smart drivers watching now, all the smart drivers watching on the replay, sometimes and in most cases, it's just a matter of you taking your foot off the throttle for 3 seconds and carry on with your life. We were watching dash cam footage on the weekend with my friend Tim, as I mentioned, and there's like these road rage incidents where they just go at each other. One person is speeding and they get in front of the other person and they hit the brakes and they do a brake check and they cut the other person off and those types of things. They're asking to be involved in a crash. Just take your foot off the throttle and let them go and have their crash somewhere else. It is not worth it. If you get into a crash, even a minor fender bender, you got to have the insurance company involved. You got to have the police involved. Next thing you know, you're without your vehicle for 5 or 6 months, or maybe not 5 or 6 months, but 5 or 6 weeks. And you're on foot. You got to find another vehicle. You got to rent a vehicle, those types of things. So think about it. Ask yourself this question. Is this worth it? Some years ago, I had this same thing happen to me where I was kind of involved in this road rage incident where this guy was in front of me and he kind of got under my skin, and the next thing you know, I'm like tailgating him. And after about a couple of kilometers, after he brake checked me, I was like, what am I doing? Like, give my head a shake and, get back into it and get yourself under control, because really that's what it's about, is you getting yourself under control so that you're not involved in a crash. And the fact, because it's after it's said and done that you've had a traffic crash, it doesn't matter who's at fault, because it's not going to fix your vehicle. It's not going to put people back together if somebody's injured or somebody's killed in a car crash. And none of it's after the fact. And know that a traffic crash can change your whole life. Your whole life. You may never walk right again. You may be in a wheelchair. You may be gone and your family has to carry on without you. So think about these things and how dangerous it is if you think that, I'm going to have a road rage incident and I'm going to get that person because that person did it to me and I need to get back at them. It ain't worth it. It just is not worth it. Armings, hey Rick, should I go with the flow of traffic even if it's 15 to 25 miles an hour over the speed limit? Do you have your driver's license? Because if you don't have your driver's license, you have to drive the speed limit. CC, I sometimes feel pressured driving because even though I am driving the speed limit or a little bit above it, there are too many crazy drivers that keep urging me to drive faster. You're in Texas. And that's not just Texas. That is everywhere. That's here where I live. That's in Vancouver, British Columbia. That's in London, England. There is always pressure for you to drive faster by other vehicles. And that social pressure is real. You have to focus on what you're doing on the roadway and focus on what you're doing and do the things that you know are going to keep you and yourself safe. Okay? Alpaca. I was driving out in Naramata and I saw a yellow 30 speed limit sign under a playground sign. Is that required to slow down or a warning? I'm currently have my L. Alpaca, the 30 speed limit under the playground sign is a speed limit that's in effect from dusk to dawn, and yes, you must obey that. Even if you have your license, you still have to obey that, okay? 34, it amazes me how many people ride bumper to bumper on a small highway with a speed limit of only 40 miles an hour. And yes, and unfortunately, that is not going to change. That's just the way that people drive. Garden State says that road rage is never worth it, and that is absolutely correct. It is never worth it. Armings, yes, I have my N driver's license, Rick. If you have your N driver's license and you're not practicing for a driver's test, I encourage you to keep up with the traffic flow because it's going to make you more predictable and safer on the roadways. But if you're practicing for a driver's test, you have to drive the posted speed limit. Okay? Yeah, Nydia, and that's just going to happen that it's 40 miles an hour and trucks are going to be honking. The pressure is real to drive faster, okay? So know that, but you need to focus on what you're doing. Garden State says car accidents are such a pain, still an ongoing lawsuit after 2 years. And 2 years is not a very long time in the life of post-crash settlement. Many of these traffic crashes that I work on, the one that I just worked on recently happened in 2016. It is now 6 years later, and there probably is going to be another 2 or 3 years before this is settled. So know that it is a very long process through the courts to have a traffic crash settled and determined who's at fault and who's going to pay out. Fortrium, I'm in New York City. Every other driver is impatient, and that is very true. And my friend Sam with Big Mac Sam, check out his YouTube channel as well. Same thing. People are impatient, but you have to do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. And if you're going for a driver's test, to go for your driver's test and pass and be successful. Tyler, when I did my Class 7, my examiner complained that I did too much shoulder checks. That's a possibility, but you probably still passed, I suspect, Tyler. CC, yes, try not to road rage. Too many people have guns and some of them would shoot just from road rage. And yeah, that's the other thing. More so in Texas than in other places, but just about anywhere in the United States. And it's not just the United States. It could be anywhere in the world. You don't know who this other person is who is road raging. So that's another good reason to not get yourself involved in a road rage incident. Eric, what kind of dash cam would you recommend? Is 4K quality really necessary? Eric, it's really going to depend on the brand of the dash cam that you get. I have a Garmin right now. I'm not entirely satisfied with the video quality of my dash cam, but I will caution you about dash cams. Dash cams are a two-edged sword, and they can be used to protect you in the event that something happens. But on the other hand, we make mistakes when we drive, and dash cams don't lie. And I'll tell you that from my own personal experience. I've seen myself, running yellow lights and those types of things, and doing some things that I shouldn't be doing while I'm driving. But we're all victims of social driving and going along with what's happening on the roadway. So know that not only can a dash cam protect you, it can also be used against you. So just keep that in mind. Charles, I have a couple of questions. My first one is, should driving lessons with my sneakers, including, yes, if you are driving and learning how to drive, Charles, I would recommend that you wear trainers and sneakers, comfortable footwear that allows you to work the pedals on the vehicle for sure. Mallory, do you have any videos on bus driving? I would love to see that. Mallory, don't have any videos on bus driving yet, but we're getting there for sure. My friend Goose, 3 causes for accidents: something wrong with the road, something wrong with the vehicle, or something wrong with the driver, usually emotionally. The first 2, Goose, I wouldn't agree with very much, that it's something wrong with the road or something wrong with the vehicle. Most traffic crashes, I mean, if it's something wrong with the vehicle, I would say 8 times out of 10 it has something to do with neglect on the part of the driver. I mean, just watch the YouTube channel just rolled in on some of the things that people try to do with their vehicles. Oh, just make you shake your head. And then roadways. Over the years of driving that I've been on roadways, I've encountered very few things that are actually wrong with roadways that would cause you to be involved in a crash. Unless it comes to night driving and people don't have the skills to be able to know where the road is going and those types of things. But hard to say. Okay? Yes, exactly what Mallory just said. A driving commentary can help you for sure. Joe, here in Ontario, the government just eliminated the fee for renewing your driver's license. They also eliminated the 2-digit expiration year sticker. Hopefully they're notified. They've notified all police forces. Yeah. Joe, you don't want to know what police forces can now do with license plate readers and the information that they can pull up about your vehicle, the registration on your vehicle, and the insurance on your vehicle. They haven't really made this public, but there is a great deal of information that police are now privy to in terms of rolling down the road and using these license plate readers. So this is the reason that all of these validation stickers are going away on the license plates as well. I don't know how prominent it is, but there's been some rumors that people steal license plates so they can put them on their vehicles and drive them around without registration or without insurance. I don't know how prolific that is or how prevalent that is, but it is possible, and this is the reason that they're not doing it, because police now have these license plate readers, and they can read vehicles going up and down the roadway, and they know whether that vehicle is insured or not and whatnot. So, Charles, secondly, my driving instructor told me I need to maintain the speed limit of 25 miles an hour where I live in New York City. What tips to maintain the speed limit for 6 more lessons before or going in the road test? Charles, that is correct that you have to do 25 miles an hour. If you look at the video with Big Mac Sam, Corey will put that up for you, that I did last fall. That was the reason that I wasn't successful on my driver's test, because I couldn't do that 25 mile an hour. Speed limit as well. I kept wanting to turn on a red light, which you can't do in the city of New York in the 5 boroughs: Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. And I'm missing one. But the 5 boroughs, you can't turn red on a red light. That also got me caught out. So your speed control is tied into your observation, your forward scanning pattern, which you're going to repeat every 8 to 12 seconds, 8 to 15 seconds. You need to look forward, into your Senate mirror, far down the road, both shoulders, check your instrument panel, far down the road, and then check one wing mirror, down the road, and then check your other wing mirror. So your scanning pattern is tied into, your observation is tied into your instrument panel. So you should be adjusting your speed every 8 to 15 seconds while you're driving. So you can go a little bit above or a little bit below, a couple, 2-3 miles per hour, but you got to be in that 25 mile an hour range for the purposes of driving and passing your driver's test. Fortrium, thank you for that compliment, my friend. I'm glad we can help out. 34, license plate stealing was a huge problem in New York a while back. Okay, but we don't know whether it's a problem now or those types of things. So, like I said, I haven't heard a great deal about it in terms of stealing licenses and registration and whatnot. But this is probably the reason that we're moving away from the license plate decals and whatnot. Okay, Crystal, how are you? I'm well. I agree that roundabouts are safer to be in. However, road rages you must avoid at all costs. Also, my driving practice went well. I turned correctly into a parking lot. All of that is awesome, my friend. Congratulations. And thanks again for a great live stream, Rick. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Drive safe, arrive alive. And you as well, my friend Joe. All the best, my friend. RK, can we do a U-turn from a single yellow line? RK, yes, you can. Benjamin, hey, Rick, your videos on shoulder checking and checking my blind spots helped me pass my driver's test. Congratulations, Benjamin. That is absolutely awesome, my friend. What did you do to go and celebrate? All right, we're going to wrap it up there tonight. If you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on passing your driver's test. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And if you have driver's test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.